5 subtle signs an elderly person may be in their final year. Warnings you shouldn't ignore. Has someone you care about, maybe a parent, spouse, or close friend, started showing quiet but concerning changes over the past several months? Many people assume that death in old age comes suddenly, often after an accident or brief illness. But the truth is, for many seniors, the body begins sending out soft, subtle warnings long before the final stage arrives. The problem? These signs are often missed. That's what happened to Karen Moore, a 74-year-old widow living in Cedar Grove, Oregon. Her daughter, Lisa, said she didn't recognize the shift in her mom's energy until looking back months later. It seemed like just normal aging, she said. Now I see that the signs were there all along. In this video, we're going to explore 5 key signs that can begin showing up as early as a year before a loved one passes. Some of these may look like everyday changes, but they can reveal much more about the body's slow decline. Knowing what to watch for means you can better prepare, emotionally and practically, so your loved one's final stage is met with peace, dignity, and love. Let's begin. Sign number 1. Significant, unintentional weight loss. One of the earliest and most important signs is unexpected weight loss. At first, it may seem small, a belt that no longer fits, pants that look baggier, or the realization that your loved one is leaving more food on their plate. For Karen, Lisa noticed that her favorite cardigan hung more loosely over her shoulders. She just said she wasn't that hungry anymore. But losing weight without trying, especially in older adults, is rarely harmless. It often means the body isn't absorbing nutrients the way it used to. The digestive system may be slowing down, muscle mass starts to decline rapidly, and vital organs may not be functioning at full capacity. While some weight loss can happen naturally with age, when it happens too quickly, it's a red flag that something deeper is occurring. One major issue is muscle wasting, a condition where the body starts losing muscle tissue because it can't process protein effectively. This doesn't just make it harder to move around, it also affects balance, increases the risk of falling, and weakens the immune system, leaving a person more vulnerable to infections or even pneumonia. Another common reason for weight loss in someone approaching the final year of life is a fading appetite. This goes beyond just being a picky eater. Older adults like Karen often lose their sense of taste or smell. Food no longer seems enjoyable. As the body begins to prepare for the end of life, it stops signaling the brain to eat. The desire for meals fades, and even once-loved dishes lose their appeal. Some families respond by encouraging more eating, offering snacks, protein shakes, or favorite treats. While these efforts are loving, they may not reverse what's happening. When the body is entering this deeper phase of decline, pushing food can actually create discomfort. What matters most is comfort and hydration. Easy-to-eat foods like soft fruits, warm soups, or smoothies can go a long way. At this stage, nutrition becomes less about adding weight and more about supporting dignity and ease. Also, keep in mind that this kind of weight loss might be tied to underlying conditions, chronic illnesses like cancer, congestive heart failure, kidney disease, or even advanced dementia. Sometimes, weight loss is the first visible sign that these conditions are progressing. Depression, especially after the loss of a spouse or close friend, can also cause decreased eating and rapid weight decline. If you've noticed your elderly loved one losing weight and eating less, don't ignore it. Talk to their doctor, monitor their energy levels, and focus on comfort-centered care. These small changes often mean the body is moving into a more fragile, final stage, and acknowledging that can help you provide the right kind of support. In the next section, we'll discuss sign number 2, increased fatigue and weakness, another subtle but critical indicator. If you found this information helpful, please comment number 1 below to let us know you're here. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the rest of this important series. Your support helps us continue to create meaningful content for families navigating aging and end-of-life care. Stay with us. There's more to come, and every moment matters. 5 signs an elderly person may be in their final year. Recognizing what truly matters. Part 2. If your elderly loved one is eating less, feeling weaker, or finding it hard to stay active, it's time to pay closer attention. These aren't just signs of aging. They're the body's quiet messages that something deeper is happening. Recognizing these changes now can help you walk the journey ahead with more clarity, compassion, and intention. Let's continue with the second sign that often appears in the final year of life. Sign number 2. Extreme fatigue and weakness. For 81-year-old Jim Walker of Fairhaven, Michigan, life used to be full of routine, tending to his backyard garden, chatting with neighbors at the local cafe, and reading on the porch every afternoon. But over the past several months, Jim's daughter, Michelle, noticed something shifting. He started sleeping more, barely made it outside, and said even making a cup of coffee felt like too much, she shared. At first, I thought he was just slowing down with age, but it turned out to be something more. This kind of persistent exhaustion is not your average tiredness. It's not about needing a nap after a long walk or feeling sleepy at night. This is deep, unrelenting fatigue, a kind that rest doesn't fix. For many people in their final year of life, even small tasks like brushing teeth, changing clothes, or standing up from a chair start to feel overwhelming. Why does this happen? As the body begins preparing for its final stage, it goes into energy conservation mode. Organ systems slow down. The heart no longer pumps as strongly. Blood doesn't circulate as efficiently. Muscles receive less oxygen, and the body naturally starts prioritizing only essential functions. The result? Profound weakness that affects daily life. Another factor is a slowed metabolism. Our bodies are designed to generate energy from food, movement, and rest. But in this phase of life, energy is no longer being produced at the same rate. The focus shifts to preservation. That's why many seniors like Jim start sleeping longer, napping throughout the day, or feeling drowsy even after a full night's sleep. Sometimes, the drop in energy can be sudden. One day, your loved one may seem fairly alert. Then hours later, they can barely keep their eyes open. This unpredictability can be confusing, but it's common. Perhaps the most overlooked part of fatigue, though, is the emotional impact. For someone who's always valued independence, losing the ability to do simple things can feel devastating. Seniors may become withdrawn, not because they've lost interest in life, but because they simply don't have the strength to engage. Jim, for example, stopped going to his men's group at the community center, not because he didn't want to, but because he couldn't keep up with the conversation or the effort it took to get there. This isolation can become a cycle. The more fatigued they feel, the less they participate, and the less they participate, the more disconnected and helpless they may become. For families, this can be incredibly hard to watch. But here's the truth. Pushing them to just try harder won't help. This stage is about supporting, not fixing. What matters now is recognizing their limits and working within them. Instead of encouraging long walks or heavy routines, try offering short moments of peace, a quiet conversation, a shared cup of tea, or even just sitting together. Let them rest. Let them move at their own pace. If you've noticed your loved one is constantly tired, struggling with basic tasks, and not bouncing back from rest, it's time to gently shift your expectations. Rather than focusing on what they can do, focus on how they feel. Are they comfortable? Do they feel safe? Are they still surrounded by love? Those are the questions that truly matter. And if you're finding these insights helpful, please comment number 2 below so I know you're here. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell so you never miss a video. Your support allows us to keep making content that informs and uplifts. Sign number 3. Increased cognitive confusion or withdrawal. As the final year unfolds, many seniors begin to experience noticeable changes in how they think, remember, and interact. It's more than forgetting where the keys are or needing reminders. It's a marked shift in mental clarity and engagement. This is what Michelle saw next with her dad, Jim. He started repeating the same questions, sometimes 3 or 4 times in an hour, she said. And then he'd forget where he was going in the house. It scared me because he'd always been sharp as a tack. This kind of cognitive change is different from typical memory slips. It's often tied to decreased blood flow and oxygen to the brain. Just like any other organ, the brain relies on a steady supply of nutrients to function. As circulation weakens, so does memory, focus, and awareness. Your loved one might forget names they've always known, struggle to follow conversations, become easily disoriented in familiar surroundings, seem emotionally detached or uninterested in the world around them. Even if they never had dementia or Alzheimer's before, this kind of cognitive decline is common in the months leading up to death. It's the body's way of slowly pulling back. If your loved one seems mentally foggy, withdrawn, or emotionally distant, try not to take it personally. It's not about their love for you, it's about what their body and brain are going through. In these moments, what they need most is patience, presence, and reassurance. Even if they don't always remember what you said, they'll feel the love behind your words. Sign number 3. Cognitive confusion and emotional withdrawal. Eleanor Ellie Jennings, an 86-year-old retired schoolteacher living in a small town outside Asheville, North Carolina, had always been sharp-witted, the kind of woman who could finish your sentences or quote poetry from memory. But over the past several months, her son, Greg, noticed changes that were both confusing and heartbreaking. She'd be completely lucid one minute, telling me about a book she read years ago, and then the next, she'd forget why we were talking or where we were going, Greg shared. It was like her mind was flickering on and off. This kind of intermittent lucidity followed by confusion is a common and early sign that the brain is no longer functioning at full capacity. It may appear subtle at first, repeating questions, forgetting recent events, or losing track of time, but over time, these moments grow more frequent. It's not just memory loss, it's a withdrawal from the world around them. Many seniors nearing the end of life begin to pull back emotionally. Ellie, once the life of the room, began sitting quietly for hours, speaking less and engaging only when spoken to. She stopped calling friends, lost interest in the daily crossword puzzle, and even began skipping Sunday phone calls with her grandchildren, something she once looked forward to every week. It wasn't because she didn't care. Her brain simply no longer processed emotions and conversations the same way. Loud environments became overstimulating. Social interactions felt exhausting. Eventually, she found more peace in silence than in chatter. Behavioral changes often follow. Some people become more anxious or easily irritated, while others seem oddly serene or detached. For Ellie, there were days she'd become frustrated over little things, and others when she appeared indifferent to everything, including milestones or holidays that once meant so much to her. These shifts are not personality changes. They're the brain adjusting to the body's gradual decline. As cognitive processing slows, emotions become harder to express. Responses become muted. The world starts to feel distant. For family members, this stage is incredibly painful. Watching someone you love fade mentally before they're physically gone feels like losing them twice. But it's essential to remember, this isn't something they can control. Rather than forcing conversation or trying to snap them out of it, the best approach is to meet them where they are. Speak softly. Be present. Offer gentle touch and calm companionship. Even if they don't respond with words, they can still feel your presence and your love. So if your loved one seems confused, withdrawn, or emotionally distant, don't dismiss it. These could be early signs of a deeper transition. Focus on creating an environment that's calm, familiar, and peaceful, because even as words fade, love and comfort remain. Sign number 4. Frequent infections and slow healing. Another clear sign that someone may be in their final year is the body's declining ability to fight off illness and repair itself. Take Harold Monroe, a 90-year-old former mechanic from Cheyenne, Wyoming. He had always been strong and rarely sick. But in the span of just 8 months, his daughter Lisa noticed a troubling pattern. He was catching every cold going around, had 2 urinary tract infections, and even developed a lingering sore on his leg that wouldn't heal. "Dad used to bounce back from everything," Lisa said. "Now every little thing just seems to knock him down." This is the result of a weakened immune system, a natural part of the body's shutdown process. What were once minor illnesses become more severe. Healing slows. Wounds take weeks to close, and even small bruises linger. Repeated infections, especially pneumonia, urinary tract infections, skin infections, and even oral infections, are red flags. Many families think these are just random occurrences, but when they happen frequently or take too long to heal, it's often a sign that the body is struggling to protect and repair itself. Even antibiotics may not work as well as they used to. Seniors might need stronger medications, longer recovery periods, or multiple treatments just to get over what used to be a simple cold or cut. One often overlooked warning sign: chronic wounds or sores that don't heal. Poor circulation in later life means blood, oxygen, and nutrients don't reach the skin and tissues as efficiently. As a result, healing becomes extremely slow, and for seniors who are less mobile, pressure sores become a major concern. If not managed carefully, these can lead to serious infections and even hospitalization. Infections in elderly individuals don't always show up in obvious ways either. Instead of a fever, your loved one might just seem more tired than usual. They may eat less, sleep more, or suddenly become more confused. In fact, a sudden change in mental alertness is often the very first sign of infection in seniors, even before a cough or pain appears. Recognizing these subtle symptoms early can make a huge difference in providing comfort and timely support. For families, seeing a loved one go through repeated illness is deeply upsetting, but knowing what it means helps you shift your focus. It's no longer just about curing the problem. It's about increasing comfort, supporting their dignity, and making their final chapter as peaceful as possible. 5 signs an elderly person may be in their final year. Understanding the final chapter, Part 4. Watching someone you love begin to fade is one of the most difficult things any family member can experience. As their health declines, it's tempting to push for every possible medical intervention, another round of antibiotics, one more hospital stay, or an extra test. The hope is always that something will turn the situation around. But at a certain point, the focus often shifts from curing to comforting. That's what happened with 88-year-old Richard "Rich" Mallory, a former factory foreman living with his daughter in a quiet neighborhood just outside of Fort Wayne, Indiana. After months of hospital visits, medications, and endless procedures, his doctors finally explained that his body wasn't responding the way it used to. The question was no longer what could be fixed. It was how to help him live the rest of his time with peace and dignity. For Rich, comfort came in the little things: staying hydrated, having his skin gently cleaned and moisturized, and being surrounded by soft lighting, music he loved, and the familiar voices of his children and grandchildren. These simple acts of care gave him far more relief than the strongest antibiotics ever did. In the final stage of life, minimizing physical stress becomes more important than prolonging life at any cost. Sometimes, what the body needs most isn't another pill. It's a quiet room, a gentle hand, and someone simply sitting nearby. Sign number 5. Major changes in breathing or circulation. One of the clearest indicators that the body is reaching the final phase is a noticeable change in breathing patterns and circulation. Let's look at the experience of Dolores D. Ramsey, a 91-year-old former seamstress living in a small assisted living home in Oregon. Her grandson, Travis, noticed that her breathing seemed different, not just slower, but irregular. At times, she'd take a few deep breaths, then pause for several seconds, almost as if she'd forgotten to breathe. This pattern is known as Cheyne-Stokes respiration, a type of rhythmic breathing where periods of deep, rapid breaths alternate with moments of shallow breathing or even temporary pauses. It's common in the final months or weeks of life, and while it may look alarming, it's simply the body's natural way of winding down. Some seniors experience shortness of breath even during basic activities, speaking, sitting up, or turning over in bed. They may begin breathing through their mouths more often, as nose breathing becomes too difficult. Others develop a dry cough or experience a wet, gurgling sound in their chest, often due to fluid building up in the lungs. Family members often mistake this for a cold or seasonal congestion, but in many elderly individuals, it's a sign that lung function is declining. The lungs may not be strong enough to clear the fluid, and lying flat may become uncomfortable. Many seniors, like D, find relief by sleeping in a reclined position or propped up with pillows. Another major sign is weakened circulation. You might notice that their hands, feet, nose, or ears feel cold to the touch. The skin may take on a bluish or pale appearance, especially around the fingers and toes. This happens because, as the heart slows down, it begins redirecting blood to the vital organs, limiting circulation to the extremities. In these moments, it's natural for loved ones to feel alarmed. The instinct is to encourage deeper breaths, call for emergency help, or panic at the bluish tint in the skin. But often, these are not symptoms of a crisis. They are signs of the body gently conserving energy as it prepares for the final transition. There may not always be a way to reverse these changes, but there are many ways to bring comfort. Keeping the room slightly cool and using a humidifier can help with breathing. Offering small sips of water or ice chips can ease a dry mouth. In some cases, oxygen therapy or medications may provide some relief. But again, the goal is not to fix, it's to ease discomfort. The most important thing you can do during this time is simply be present. Sit with them. Hold their hand. Speak softly, even if they don't respond. Surround them with the sounds, smells, and memories they loved most. Final thoughts. As we come to the end of this 4-part series, take a moment to reflect on the journey we've explored together. We began by discussing significant weight loss, a physical sign that often appears when the body starts to slow down its energy use. Then we talked about extreme fatigue, which robs people of the strength they once had for even the smallest tasks. From there, we explored cognitive changes and emotional withdrawal, those quiet shifts that slowly pull our loved ones away from the world around them. Next came frequent infections and slow healing, a clear indicator that the immune system is no longer able to keep up with even minor health challenges. And finally, we've talked about changes in breathing and circulation, one of the most visible signs that the body is preparing for its final moments. These signs may not appear all at once, and some may be more obvious than others. But if you start noticing them in someone you care about, it may be time to shift your focus, from medical intervention to comfort, peace, and presence. In the end, the most powerful gift you can give isn't another trip to the hospital. It's love, understanding, and the reassurance that they're not alone. For many families, witnessing these changes in a loved one can be incredibly hard to accept. It's natural to want to fight against them, to encourage Grandma Evelyn to eat more, to ask Uncle Joe to get up and walk, or to tell Grandpa Hank to push through his exhaustion. But sometimes, the kindest thing we can do is to listen to what their body is saying. Instead of focusing on trying to reverse what's coming, we can shift our energy toward making their remaining time as peaceful, comfortable, and meaningful as possible. Understanding the signs of decline, whether it's 85-year-old Evelyn slowing down or 90-year-old Hank sleeping more, doesn't mean we have to live in fear of death. It means we can be better prepared for it. When you recognize these changes early, you can provide more compassionate care, make thoughtful decisions in advance, and ensure that your loved one's final months are filled with dignity and love. This time can become an opportunity, a chance to share stories, relive old memories, and remind them how valued they truly are. If you're noticing these signs in someone close to you, take a deep breath. You're not alone. Countless families have walked this road, and while it's never easy, knowing what to expect can bring peace, patience, and strength. Thank you for spending time with us today. We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one thing you learned and how it may help you or someone you care about. If this video helped you in any way, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support allows us to continue creating helpful content that informs and inspires. We'll see you in the next video.